Howdy, my name is Nonat, and War of Immortals is finally here. If you're a premium Paizo subscriber, or me. But with it has come so much new content, so much that I went over in my last video, which if you haven't seen that one yet, definitely go check it out. I had a lot of fun making that one. It was an ordeal to get done because a lot of stuff went down that I'm not going to bore you with here today. No, what I'm going to bore you with here today is the Pathfinder 2e Mythic Rules. It's here, it's in my hands, I have read it and skimmed it a few times, which means I'm gonna get 90% of it correct here today. While you're here, drop a like on the video, it really means the world to me, and also speaking of meaning the world to me, the members of the Nonat One's Patreon. I appreciate all of you so freaking much, and also an extra special thank you to those who have purchased the $250 Nonat One-Shot tier that I got to run games for you and your friends. It has been an absolute blast, and there are some slots open right now, so if you and up to 4 friends would like to have a one-shot run by me for your group, consider pledging to that tier. That one tier pledge pays for all 5 players for the game. I work with you, we schedule the game for you, whatever you want it to be, roleplay heavy. It doesn't even have to be Pathfinder. I've had people asking for Starfinder and Call of Cthulhu too, and I am more than happy to run those. So if that interests you, click down below and pledge to the Nonat One's Patreon, either just to support the channel or to get a one-shot run by me. It's a ton of fun, and I've been really enjoying running these for people. Now that I'm done shilling for myself...
Oh, hey. You just caught me casually setting up my phone to record myself while I edit this video so that I can talk to you like this unprompted and make it seem like a natural interaction. If you can't tell from the echo and the ambience, I'm not at home right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not working to get you guys content. It also means I have something very important to tell you, and that is that the Dragon's Demand Kickstarter by Ossian Studios for the Pathfinder 2e video game has 48 hours left in its campaign, and y'all, it is close. Look at this funding bar. If this funding bar does not hit full, the game doesn't get made. And this game is looking like everything we've ever wanted out of a Pathfinder 2e video game. All of the core, like 15, 16 classes are all playable from the original Player Core and Player Core 2. It's got tons of recruitable companions for a completely customized playthrough, as well as your fully customizable, unique main character, all played on a living tabletop. Every single creature, monster, you and your companions are all going to be actual tabletop minis moving across a crazy, detailed, living tabletop experience that I cannot wait to see come to fruition. Ossian Studios has so much behind them. They've worked on Neverwinter Nights, and they've got people who worked on the original Baldur's Gate franchise, y'all. This is a project full of so much passion from the ground up. They want to make the first fully integrated Pathfinder 2e video game using the entire core system in a full 3D environment. The game only goes up to level 8, but here's the big thing about Dragon's Demand. This is not only testing the waters, it is also creating a baseline, a ground level for them to build on. If this Kickstarter gets funded and this game performs well, future games and potentially expansions are on the horizon. The hardest part of a game like this is building that engine, building that foundation. Once it's there, they have so many more toys to play with, and we can see so much more Pathfinder video game content in the future. If you want to help Ossian Studios and the Pathfinder 2e community at large make this happen and give us the game of our dreams, click the link at the top of the description and go help Ossian Studios crack that funding goal. There are 48 hours left, and without your help, we may not get the game at all. Thank you so much, Ossian Studios, for sponsoring this video, and I apologize for the audio quality.
So let's start with the basic question that even the book asks. What is mythic? What is a mythic character? If you've played Pathfinder 1st Edition, you have an idea, but if you've never played Wrath of the Righteous, the video game, or a Mythic PF1 campaign, you might have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, a mythic character is basically a character that has been granted some greater power, typically to accomplish some greater purpose. A mythic character is going to be leagues more powerful than a non-mythic character. However, with the blessing of becoming mythic also should come even higher challenges, stronger creatures the characters have to fight, harder skill checks that they need to succeed, and of course, higher stakes for the world around them. Even low-level mythic characters could potentially stop region-wide catastrophe from ensuing with the powers granted to them. There is a lot that goes into Mythic. I have personally divided it into 2 tiers. Tier 1 Mythic and Tier 2 Mythic. This is not how it's written in the book, but it's how I'm going to explain it because it makes a lot more sense in my head when I think of them this way. An early level 1, typically level 1, it can be any level depending on the story, character gets what is known as a calling. This is the first step in all Mythic play. Your calling is exactly what it sounds like. It is what calls you to be Mythic. It is what grants you Mythic abilities related to your calling. All Mythic characters will pick one of 11 available callings, and every single calling follows the exact same format. You are given a list of skill actions that you can take by spending a Mythic point to do at Mythic proficiency. And the first time per day you critically succeed any of those skills, you regain 1 Mythic point. Now, you're probably already asking the question, what is a Mythic point and what is Mythic proficiency? Well, this is actually super simple. A Mythic point replaces the hero point system in a Mythic campaign. You no longer get hero points to allow you to re-roll failed skill checks. Rather, you have Mythic points, which do have a similar function, but primarily Mythic points are more similar to focus points on certain character classes. Mythic points are a limited resource you can use to access your Mythic powers. Typically, especially in Tier 1 Mythic play, you are not, on average, any stronger. Your attack rolls, your skill checks, your character sheet is pretty much the exact same until you activate your Mythic powers by spending a Mythic point. The easiest way to explain this is with an example, utilizing an ability that every single Mythic character has access to, Rewrite Fate. This is super simple. Anytime you fail a skill check or saving throw, as a free action, you can spend a Mythic point to re-roll that check at Mythic proficiency. Mythic proficiency is a new level of proficiency. PF2, as I'm sure you're aware, goes trained, expert, master, and legendary, capping out at the +8 from legendary. Mythic is +10. At low levels, this is what Mythic proficiency is going to be mainly used for, either making up for a mistake or being used to do something truly incredible. Like I said, these Mythic points are similar to focus points, and that's because at the beginning of each session, you get 3 of them. Now, unlike a focus point, it's very rare to be able to get a Mythic point back. In fact, aside from your calling, it's entirely up to the GM when you get Mythic points back. If you complete an incredibly difficult encounter that your GM deems worthy of rewarding a Mythic point, they might give one back to the entire party. Otherwise, you're going to get your 3 at the beginning of the session, and then your 1 free Mythic point per day from critically succeeding your calling's chosen skill check. For example, the Acrobat calling allows you to spend a Mythic point to use Mythic proficiency to roll on balance, maneuver in flight, tumble through, and long jump checks. And if during the day you critically succeed any of those, you go for a long jump and you critically succeed, you get an extra Mythic point. So that's really all there is to level 1 Mythic play. You can use Mythic points to roll your calling skill checks at a +10 proficiency bonus, or you can just roll any skill check, and if you fail, you can re-roll it with Rewrite Fate. This is something I have a little bit of a problem with design-wise, because 9 times out of 10, unless you were doing it for flavor, why would you roll Mythic proficiency as the Acrobat calling to get Mythic proficiency on your long jump, when you could just roll with your normal proficiency, and then, if you fail, use Rewrite Fate to roll with Mythic? I feel like if there's a chance of succeeding without spending the limited resource, you might as well try it, and then spend the resource to re-roll it, rather than just spending it in the first place and then rolling a nat 20, which would feel really bad. The other niche case is if you will have an ability that allows you to re-roll a die, if you have like a halfling feat that lets you re-roll something, well then, yeah, you could spend the Mythic point, roll your skill check with Mythic proficiency, and if you get to re-roll that die, it will still be at Mythic proficiency on the re-roll. There is one more difference between a mythic character and a non-mythic character, and that is how they die. Typically in Pathfinder 2e, when you drop to 0 hit points, you become dying 1, and every failed save or damage taken increases your dying by 1 value, and if you ever hit dying 4, your character is done and you cannot play them anymore. Well, mythic characters bend that rule and are a lot harder to kill. If you would ever reach dying 4, you stabilize at 0 hit points, and your doomed condition increases by 1. If your doomed condition hits 4, your mythic character is dead for good. This basically means that mythic characters can die 4 times before actually dying, which is a lot of fun because it gives the GM the ability to send really terrifying, powerful encounters at the party that might actually down and kill 2 or 3 of them, but because they have to die 4 times, you can get away with that and be fine. Now, obviously, if everybody goes down, well, then you can write something else about it. But I really like these rules, and I would even encourage people to put these rules into their home game, even if they're not mythic. If you want death to feel possible, but very unlikely, use this, where hitting dying 4 dooms you. And you basically have 4 lives, and you gain 1 life back per long rest. There's a lot of fun to be had with that, and I really like that they included it in the Mythic rules. So, you've survived level 1 at Mythic, and you've reached level 2. Now comes Mythic Feats. This functions exactly like the free archetype variant, except you can only spend these bonus feats on Mythic Feats. Levels 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 are all Tier 1 Mythic Feats, and I promise the whole tier thing will make a lot more sense when I explain Tier 2. These feats are okay. I don't want to poo-poo all of them so quickly until I go over all of them in depth in the next video, but as it stands, levels 2, 4, and 6 mythic feats leave a lot to be desired. 8 and 10 is when they really start getting exciting, but the one that I always use as an example lately, Binds That Tie. When you attempt to grapple an opponent who is already grappled by an ally, you can spend a mythic point to deal damage equal to your double your strength mod. It lets you grapple at mythic proficiency, so I guess it'll help you try to restrain them if you critically succeed. But all this really does is let you grapple with the plus 10 proficiency, and then why? Why is it only double your strength mod and damage? Why does another ally have to already be grappling them? It's a weird, hyper-specific situation, and that's sort of what I've seen out of most of these low-level mythic feats. They are very particular situations that you can use your mythic points in. I do just want to give one more example because I kind of find it funny, but I also think it's one of... I'm sorry, Paizo, you know I love you. I think it's one of the worst designed feats in all of Pathfinder 2e. Prescience. You're about to roll initiative. Then as a free action, you get to roll your initiative with mythic proficiency. Phenomenal. You're rolling at plus 10 to your initiative proficiency. And then it gives you a bonus to AC and saving throws that last until the end of your first turn. But you just got a huge bonus to initiative, so you're probably going first. Which means that bonus does nothing because it goes away at the end of your first turn. I think if my players ever play with this feat, I think I'm going to personally rewrite this, that the bonus lasts until the start of your second turn. Because as it stands, that's anti-synergy. You get to go first because you rolled with mythic proficiency. And the bonus only lasts until the end of your first turn, so if every enemy goes after you, those bonuses don't matter. It punishes you for rolling high initiative on the same feat, which is wild. But then of course you hit level 8 and 10 and you get crazy abilities like Mythic Strike. This is going to make a lot of people upset, but aside from some very niche case feats, level 10 is the first time you are allowed to make attack rolls with mythic proficiency. Paizo really wanted to keep that option out of the average player's hands because of how easy it would be to crit on something like a barbarian and one-shot entire boss encounters, which is fair, but also it's mythic. We should be able to just be bonkers characters, and I think level 10 might be a little too long to wait to get access to your mythic attack rolls. But that's Tier 1. Overall, Tier 1 is very, very simple. It is just using mythic points to get access to Mythic Proficiency 9 times out of 10. There's a couple niche feats here and there that utilize those Mythic points in new ways, but for the most part with the callings and the feats, you are just paying your resource to roll at plus 10 instead of whatever proficiency you are. Weirdly, Mythic, it doesn't get weaker, but it feels a little worse the higher level you get. If you are a level 1 character with only trained proficiency, then yeah, going from trained to Mythic is amazing. That is a flat plus 8. But if you're a level 7 character and you've got master proficiency in whatever athletics, then when you use Mythic Proficiency, you're only going from plus 6 to plus 10. That plus 8 has now become a plus 4, which, don't get me wrong, plus 4 is still wild, but it kind of feels bad that the higher level you get, the worse Mythic Proficiency is in comparison. God forbid, at the end of the game, if you're legendary in something, a Mythic point only gets you plus 2. So you're actually incentivized to leave your primary Mythic skills and abilities at low proficiency to get more bang for your buck when you use your Mythic points to upgrade them. You know, if you're an acrobat calling, it kind of feels like you want to leave acrobatics at trained so that when you do use your Mythic Proficiency to upgrade it, you get that plus 8 and you spend your skill increases on other things. But that's backwards because your calling is as an acrobat, so your acrobatics should be your highest skill. Do you see what I'm getting at? Do you see why this design feels kind of weird and clunky? I am not a fan of Tier 1 Mythic in Pathfinder 2e. I don't think it's bad. I love the idea, and especially with something we'll cover in a future video known as alternate Mythic progression, I think there's ways to make this feel a lot better. But as it stands, in War of Immortals itself, Tier 1 Mythic play is okay. If you like the idea of rolling extra high 3 times per day, that's what Mythic Tier 1 is. Mythic Tier 1 is rolling higher on your die 3 or 4 times per day. But what I love is Tier 2 Mythic play. Now this feels like Pathfinder 1st Edition Wrath of the Righteous style Mythic. Tier 2 is all about your Mythic destiny. One of 9 completely unique archetypes that can only be taken while playing with Mythic Rules, and each have so many feats to choose from at levels 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. If you've played with the free archetype variant, you understand Tier 2 Mythic. These are just super powerful archetypes that can only be taken at level 12, and you gain an extra feat every even level that you can only spend on these quote-unquote archetypes. These archetypes obviously give you new ways to spend your Mythic points, but they also give you brand new abilities that can just be used outright in really cool ways and finally make you stronger as a character rather than just a normal character with 3 or 4 skill bumps per day. For example, the Beast Lord Destiny at level 14 gets Chosen Ward. During your daily preparations, you pick a teammate, and as long as you or your animal companion are adjacent to them, that teammate just gets +1 to armor class and reflex saves all day, as long as they're next to you. So that's just a lovely, amazing little passive bonus that then has an additional activatable Mythic point aspect of it afterwards. That's what I find Tier 1 Mythic play is missing the most, is passive effects that upgrade you as a character and make you feel generally Mythic, as opposed to Mythic 3 times a day. And that's it. That is Tier 2 Mythic. It has been explained in, probably a minute and a half at this point. It's just archetype rules. You use those feats to get brand new Mythic Destiny abilities. You can obviously only select one Mythic Destiny. You can't have multiple like you do with archetypes. It is your destiny to become the Archfiend, or the Monarch, or the Angel thing, whatever it's called. There is a lot more lore and flavor that goes into Mythic as far as Mythic trials and Mythic deeds and Mythic monsters and all of that. But that's a lot of flavor, which is not what this video is about, and I don't want to muddy this video with too much information. I think that, at this point, you understand how a Mythic character works. You get a calling, which lets you spend your Mythic points on Mythic proficiency. You pick up Tier 1 Mythic feats from levels 2 to 10, which give you new ways to utilize your Mythic points and Mythic proficiency. And then from levels 12 to 20, you get those extra feats to spend on your Destiny and your Destiny's Mythic feats, which have some incredibly powerful abilities. That's it at the end of the day. But it's not how I would recommend you play a Mythic character. Look forward to a future video when I go over the Mythic alternate progression rules that Paizo has put out that I think even Paizo themselves probably prefers, because why else would they release what is effectively an optional document for a system without including it in the book itself? Aside from formatting and word count, which is all a nightmare, speaking from experience. Let me know in the comments if you plan to use Mythic and what your Mythic character is going to be. I love hearing about your character concepts, and I hope you are as excited for the Mythic system as I am. Look forward in a week or two when I start making videos covering all the unique feats and destinies, because that's all on its way. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.